Elon Musk and 50 Cent have sparked serious conversation across the industry, and it's got people paying attention. The twist: the focus may be misplaced. What many see as the main figure could simply be a distraction, not the full story. If you're fixated on one name, you might be missing the bigger picture. This time, the discussion goes beyond speculation. Elon brings something different to the table: data, archived interactions, and years of digital history from the early Twitter era, now known as X. Information like that can reshape narratives fast, especially when it adds context people haven't seen before. That's why online analysts are framing this like a hierarchy. At the surface are major celebrity figures. Above them are influential decision-makers who shape access, exposure, and opportunity. And at the very top, some claim there's a powerful presence that rarely draws attention. Despite its reach, the conversation doesn't stop with entertainment or corporate influence. It stretches into public image, cultural power, and even institutions that shape belief and trust. 50 Cent has been alluding to these broader dynamics for months, hinting that the story is bigger than any single industry.
They gave me a raw deal because this industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it, and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, look, them Dave, why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation? Because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man, I was trapped. You know what? Tell you the truth. I've even thought about coming back and doing another Chappelle show. Well, but if I do...
Before going any further, it's important to understand this. The Diddy situation reaches beyond hip-hop. This isn't about a full backstory or biography. It's about why people are paying attention now. 50 Cent released his documentary, The Reckoning, with a clear message. Silence in the industry creates the appearance of complicity. His position was simple. Someone had to speak up. Where the discussion turns darker is in the claims circulating online. Commentators have alleged that recordings from private events were used less for entertainment and more as leverage, a quiet way to maintain control without public pressure. These claims remain unproven, but they've sparked widespread concern, especially amid rumors of panic behind the scenes that why does Elon Musk factor into this? Because as the owner of X, he controls a platform that holds years of archived conversations and digital history. In public discussions, including interviews, he's pointed to the gap between what powerful figures say openly and what they stay silent about when it matters most. And that contrast is what's fueling the conversation right now.
Like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein type compromise deal where he had, whether he was doing it himself, conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know, but clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be. They
had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams was talking about it on
exactly.
Yeah, on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids,
Right. Yeah. And what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him and they're willing to keep quiet about all this? Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is fucking crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood. And you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these.
He mentioned Jennifer Lopez, not to start a political argument, but to test credibility. The question was simple. If you were that close at the time, where was the warning? Where was the pushback? The suggestion was clear. There wasn't one. That moment caught fire online because it forces an uncomfortable question. If someone was that close and never spoke up, what does that say? Either they didn't know, which many people struggle to accept, or they did know something and chose silence. And if it was silence, the next question follows naturally. Why? Fear, loyalty, reputation, or protecting someone else. Now we move up the ladder. Level 1 starts with Jay-Z and Beyonce. And if that sounds low on the scale, stay with it. This is just the beginning.
How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing. I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through. That changes now, Sean. You have no choice. That Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter. They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly.
Jaguar Wright appeared in an interview with Piers Morgan and made a series of explosive claims about Jay-Z, Diddy, and the depth of their industry connections. Shortly after, people online began saying the episode became difficult to find, fueling speculation rather than settling it. She also raised a long-standing question many have asked before. How does Jay-Z appear on major platforms like CBS without being pressed on persistent rumors and industry relationships? Wright used strong language, describing the influence of powerful figures as something that has shaped and pressured the industry for decades. She also revisited the long-running Aaliyah theory, going further than most commentators, suggesting motives and connections without presenting proof. These claims remain unverified. What keeps the discussion alive is not evidence, but silence. Jay-Z has never directly addressed these theories, and in the online world, silence is rarely seen as neutral. Right or wrong, it's often interpreted as a deliberate choice, and that perception continues to drive the conversation forward.
Think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened, and yet they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it.
Then another detail made people take a second look. As charges and lawsuits against Diddy began to surface, one familiar name caught attention: Alex Spiro, known as Jay-Z's personal attorney. Reports suggested he appeared within the broader legal circle surrounding the case. That alone sparked questions online. People began asking why an attorney so closely associated with Jay-Z would suddenly be connected to this situation. No conclusions, just curiosity, but enough to make observers pause and reassess what they thought they understood.
That's suing Tony Busby. Spiro is a partner, and Alex Spiro is Jay-Z's personal lawyer.
Oh, so it's probably Jay-Z then that's doing the suing.
Of course they've used Kevin's name,
Why
but
would
it
they-
ain't Kevin. Why is Alex Spiro popping up everywhere?
What do you think is going on in Hollywood right now? What are you hearing? Because I'm hearing
Mass panic. Mass
Everyone-
panic.
So because no one's talking publicly.
No, it
But
can't.
behind-
That's why they came up with the story. Well, you know, there's a party inside the Diddy party, and I went to the first party, but I left early. I never made it to Diddy After Dark. There were public relations teams right after Diddy got arrested running around telling everyone to say that.
Of course.
The question is this. If all you went to was the first party and you didn't know anything about the After Dark, why would you say, I left early? Why wouldn't you just say you left when the party ended?
Exactly.
Because how would you know
That
there
the-
was another party
Exactly.
if you weren't informed?
Exactly.
If you went to the Diddy party and nothing happened and it was the first party, your speech wouldn't be, oh, well, I only went to the first party. I
Right.
didn't go to the after party. You wouldn't say that because you wouldn't have known about
Exactly.
it. You would say, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I went to Diddy's party. It was a white party. It was dancing. It was wild. But at the end, we all went home.
Right.
That's not what y'all are saying.
Nope.
You're saying, I didn't go to the second party. I only went to the first. The only thing you're proving is that you're hiding being there.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have known about another
Exactly.
The core theory is straightforward. Control the story before more names are pulled into it. The concern many raise is that if Diddy were ever to speak freely, it could implicate powerful figures beyond him. That's why attention keeps circling back to Jay-Z's rise and the era around it. You can't talk about that time without mentioning Big L, someone who helped open early doors and connect key players. His death, coming shortly after reported negotiations, remains unsolved. Some commentators, including Jaguar Wright, have questioned whether it was coincidence or part of a troubling pattern. No proof exists, but when timelines are placed side by side, people say the questions become harder to ignore. From there, the discussion moves to what some call level 2, where influence matters more than fame. Oprah Winfrey's name often comes up, largely due to her proximity to powerful figures and controversies that, critics argue, weren't confronted early enough. Supporters see coincidence and distance. Critics see silence as protection. Her school in South Africa is also frequently mentioned. Allegations were addressed publicly at the time, but some still argue parts of the story never fully settled, keeping it in wider conversations about oversight and accountability. Then there's Clive Davis, a music industry icon with decades of influence. He's not treated as a peripheral figure in these discussions. Claims from figures like Suge Knight have circulated for years, suggesting relationships that went beyond business, though no evidence has been publicly produced. When questioned in interviews, Clive has sometimes declined to engage, and while that proves nothing, those moments are repeatedly replayed online as signals. None of this is established fact. But together, these unanswered questions, resurfacing clips, and long-running rumors fuel a narrative about power, leverage, and silence, one the internet continues to dissect, frame by frame.
Favorite memory working with Diddy?
You know, personally, I've got to tell you, he really is a major star in this film tonight. He's his spokesman all the way through. I met him before I ever knew of him. I met him when he was 21 years old. And when we met, you know, he played me Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear. He played me 3 cuts from the forthcoming Notorious B.I.G. album. And we talked for hours and hours about music, and I poured into his dream. And I financed Bad Boy Records. And we had an incredible run, an incredible period.
There's also the Whitney Houston angle, another story the public has never fully let go of. Conversations keep circling her final days, the people around her, and whether the official narrative explains everything. Over the years, comments from family members have kept doubts alive, leading many online to ask a blunt question. How can someone surrounded by decades of rumors face no real consequences? That's where the fall guy theory comes in. Many believe Diddy is absorbing the pressure while deeper gatekeepers remain untouched, operating far from headlines and scrutiny. From there, the discussion reaches what some call the top of the pyramid. And this is where it shocks people. The name raised is Bishop T.D. Jakes, a pastor and spiritual leader, not a celebrity. Yet 50 Cent has repeatedly referenced him, keeping the name in circulation. The theory suggests that if influence reaches the pulpit, this isn't just an entertainment issue. It's a larger ecosystem. Some argue Diddy benefited from proximity to respected figures who added legitimacy by association. Viewers also point to how T.D. Jakes appeared in specific moments of documentary footage, interpreting the timing as intentional. Whether coincidence or design, those placements fueled speculation. Then Cat Williams gets pulled back into the mix, reminding people of his claim that 2024 would be a year of exposure. Online, many treated that statement less like comedy and more like a prediction.
Cat Williams calls out Bishop T.D. Jakes and watches T.D. Jakes and Gino Jennings' response.
I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TD Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
When Bishop T.D. Jakes was asked about the allegations tied to Diddy, his response is what sent the conversation into overdrive. He didn't offer a clear denial. Instead, he brushed it off with "keep it moving," followed by remarks about repentance and spiritual authority. To many watching, that didn't sound like clarity. It sounded like avoidance. And that's why the reaction exploded. Jaguar Wright then escalated the discussion further. She claimed that if a religious leader was ever present within Diddy's private circles, it would point to motives like money or access. She framed those spaces as places of leverage, alleging that recordings exist of powerful figures in compromising situations. None of this has been proven, but statements like these continue to fuel speculation and keep the controversy alive online. At this stage, it's no longer just about individual names. It's about how silence, vague responses, and perceived deflection can rapidly turn questions into viral narratives, especially when trust and authority are involved.
Jakes was at a Diddy party. There could only be two reasons: money or sex. That's all that happens at Diddy parties: money and sex.
Cassie has turned over substantial amounts of evidence to the feds. I'm told that after Cassie had a long conversation with Blank, I have to protect this person. They're going through a lot right now. And her lawyers, she finally was convinced to give up the videotapes and audio recordings that contain.
Whether any of this holds up is still an open question. But once the public starts believing evidence exists, the fear isn't the rumor, it's the possibility of footage. Jaguar Wright pushed the conversation further, claiming that multiple men have come forward with accounts they believe connect Bishop Jakes to that world. No proof has been shown publicly, only allegations, secondhand claims, and talk of legal activity happening quietly behind the scenes. The reason it keeps spreading is simple. It fits a pattern many people already believe. Power protects power until it no longer can. Gene Deal added to that narrative by questioning why a religious leader would even be near environments widely described as questionable. In his view, that presence is difficult to explain unless there's endorsement or involvement. He also hinted that if recordings ever surface, the discussion would move from speculation to something far more serious. For now, it remains talk, but talk fueled by silence, suspicion, and the belief that more is being hidden than revealed.
Diddy and T.D. Jakes.
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she, but maybe he'd have to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he'd have to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere.
Where do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or when we told this happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties.
That's the real tension hanging over everything right now. Not opinions or arguments, but the possibility of proof. When the conversation widens, it becomes clear this isn't limited to one industry. When Elon Musk spoke with Joe Rogan, the focus wasn't celebrity drama. It was power networks and how influence actually works. Elon framed it around fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of what happens when hidden doors open. They discussed how control can replace persuasion, comparing it to a compromise model where leverage matters more than truth. In that framework, fame and talent become secondary. Control is the real currency. Seen that way, a lot starts to make sense. Why certain people stay silent, why some stories disappear, and why some names remain protected despite public pressure. Dave Chappelle has described the industry in similar terms, not just as contracts, but as confinement. His point was clear. Changing locations doesn't always mean escaping control. If someone at the top felt trapped, it raises questions about everyone else trying to survive inside the system. This story isn't finished. More names will be discussed, more rumors will surface, and figures once seen as untouchable may face scrutiny. The question now is whether Bishop T.D. Jakes is truly the top of the structure, or just another layer shielding someone else. Share your thoughts below. And if this discussion caught your attention, the next episode dives into other names the internet believes are coming under focus. We'll be here as it continues to unfold.